JJ the CPA here. So here we go with the update for April 22nd, PPP, EIDL, SBA, ERC, all the things that are swirling this week. So is it going to be a panic? Yes. Is it going to go fast? Yes. What am I talking about? Round 2 of PPP and EIDL. So here's the deal. I wasn't sure how it was going to play out in terms of the law. So I've got a link here, and it's to what has passed the Senate, and the links on my website, jjthecpa.help.com, and you'll see it on the PPP page, where it's just this, which is pretty good. I'm glad for this. Basically, this goes back and provides amendments to the CARES Act. So they've not come up with a secondary act. They've come up with this, okay? This resolution becomes a bill, becomes law that basically is going to adjust what's in the CARES Act. And so when I'm looking here, basically for the PPP, it was $349 billion. Now it's $659 billion, which went up $310 billion. Now, out of that, $60 billion is set aside for the small bank. So we've got 30 of that $60 billion, $30 billion to the small banks, and they did go in and define that. They call it community financial institutions, small insured depository institution, and credit unions. And they put then in the sizes, which is kind of based on their depository. So they gave two classifications of the smaller banks, but it's at least $60 billion to those size banks, and then another $10 billion to the SBA EIDL program, which we're all interpreting as the $10,000 advance. Nothing in here is telling me if it's going to remain $10,000 that I can see. It may just be that it's still back down to what it was, which is it's $1,000 per employee. Basically, what I see here is that instead of it being $10 billion, they insert $20 billion. So with that being said, you want to get after the PPP. What you should expect is that because they're not doing a CARES Act 2, that the application wouldn't change. However, let me tell you this, the first week, so before we even got the PPP rocking and rolling the first go around, the SBA had 3 different applications come out that week, with the final application, which was used for the rest of the duration, came out Friday morning, April 3rd, the day that it was first opened. So it's not impossible that they come up with a new application, but I don't know that it's probable from the standpoint of they're just now increasing the amount of money that's in there. SBA may come and make some different clarifications. I don't know that they would change the application. What I do know is that you shouldn't assume your bank's going to automatically put you in for the second funding. You'd want to follow up with them and make sure. On the EIDL, you get that at the SBA.gov website. Under the EIDL, you'll see the COVID-19 at the top. Last I checked, it still said funds were lapsed. So I doubt they would, in anticipation of something coming, do anything about it. So click here for more available. Here's the options. I'm looking at them now. Yeah, and we still have the notice of lapse. So what you want to do is be on top of looking at that SBA website and get the EIDL. Got a couple of videos on that, but you should go ahead and just get the EIDL and go in for the PPP. Just disclose it. The way that it all ended up being is that, yeah, you might have a reduction in your forgiveness, but at this point, I think it kind of didn't work out well to those that waited to do the PPP, didn't get the EIDL. So I think once it comes online, you get the EIDL. If you put in one employee, assume it's 1,000, and you update your application, put that you put 1,000 to the EIDL. I got other videos on maybe what you need to do as it relates to if you already have an account. I mean, if you already have an application at a bank, but they didn't get it done, you know, you need to get in contact with them. Do you want to do a backup bank? Well, you know, if you're doing it at one of the local banks, the credit unions, right, the smaller ones, there's money specifically set aside for them. And most of those smaller banks probably are doing the smaller loans, right? They're not doing maybe. Their average loan size, don't know on PPP, but I don't know if I had to just pure guess, I bet it's, you know, maybe 100 grand. So that money, I'm not going to say it's going to go slower, but it should move through those banks, not in the same manner if a bank was doing 10 million licks at a time, right? So I mean, if the average loan, let's say, is 100 grand, which I'm just pulling that out of the air. So if you got 100,000, how many loans of those do you have before you hit 10 million, right? It will be 100 of them before you hit 10 million. So 100,000, right? 10 of those equals a million. And then you have 10 of those. So you'd have 100 loans to the 110 million. So that's why it'll go technically slower, but there's a lot of people already in line on the employee retention credit. So nothing new on that. What I've been waiting for is the IRS to give us a deadline. Not a deadline, but like give us a more definitive start date of when that employee retention credit applies. So I know that they just said, well, if you got it, you don't get it. If you got the PPP, you're not going to get the EI. Yeah, let's see. Yep, no updates there. Check one other spot here. Yep, no updates there. You know, the law indicates that if you're getting the PPP, you don't get the ERC, but then the law also says that if you have someone that got the ERC and then they later get the PPP, would be a recapture. The IRS needs to tell us, well, how does it get recaptured? Is it a payback? Is it paid back within the next payroll period? Is it paid back by 7/31 when the 941's due? Or is it payback in the sense that it's a recapture from the amount that you took against the loan? So if you got a $4,000 employee retention credit, when it comes time to get forgiveness, automatically $4,000 isn't going to be covered, isn't going to be forgiven. And that'd just be because you got a credit. And for some, that might make some sense from the standpoint of they're getting that money. On the EIDL, you know, has no effect on the ERC. So if you don't get the PPP, you can do the ERC even if you got the EIDL. As it relates to the SBA Loan Express, the $25,000 that can be received, you know, that is a credit check. You get that at the bank. But if you're getting loans, if you're getting another SBA loan, if you're getting the EIDL, right, you can get up to $250,000. You can't get that online. You know, you can get a $10,000 advance. You can do the SBA Express. You can do, you know, in essence, an EIDL, SBA, and then of course, you know, SBA does even larger amounts than that. But the ERC is only affected by the PPP, not by the EIDL, and not by other loans. So if you're getting other loans through the SBA, that doesn't affect employee retention credit. On the employee retention credit, just a reminder that it does only include W-2 wages, not anybody that's 1099. What qualifies for the PPP in terms of the employee, you know, the payroll it costs, you know, will stay the same. I don't see any adjustments in the law in case you're interested, but on the SBA, maybe they come out with some kind of update. We'll see. As it relates to the forgiveness aspect, the SBA still needs to give out further guidelines. They gave some for the self-employed. If you go to my website, jjcpahelp.com, you'll see I made a list there. I also made a list of the documents that are required according to the law. So the SBA will need to add to some of that. You know, I've got some videos talking about this, but you know, there's a lot of talk that if you just rely on Section 1106D5 in the CARES Act that basically says, well, if you get your head count up and you get your salaries back to where they are, by June 30, then you don't have to pay attention to the head count and the salary reduction haircuts. But you do have to have spent the money. So it does make it clear in 1106D that any of those provisions doesn't increase forgiveness. So you had to have spent the money. Whatever you spend the money on, which would include everything, the other expenses and the payroll, the rent, utilities, and the payroll costs, and the interest, right? So you take that full amount, okay? And then whatever you spent, okay, that's applied towards the percentages in 1106. So when you're looking at that, 1106, and you want to start hanging your hat on D, because you're like, oh, I'll hire everybody back. You still have to look at my other videos, but you can't just have nothing and then huge payroll in the last couple of weeks, because the bank's going to need to see all the payroll periods that come into play. SBA has not come up with anything else from a standpoint of you have the SBA through the banks doing the PPP. You have directly to the SBA the EIDL, which you get online, and then if you're going above that, it's up to 10,000. Then you're doing an express. If you need more than an express, because express is 25,000, you need more than that. Then you're doing an EIDL loan, like it's a disaster loan. You have an advance on that, and then you have the EIDL. So the advance is you don't have to pay it back. You don't have to go get another loan. It just is what it is. Just as a reminder, if you are doing the employee retention credit because you're not getting the PPP March 13th through March 31st, because of the nation being in the COVID-19 shutdown, pretty much everybody's applying. If you're 100 or less employees, take what you paid times 50%. There's your credit, put on Form 7200, line 1, boom, fax it in. A few more questions beyond that, but that's it. You don't provide any of the worksheets that go along with it. And then also for the tax credits that came out of the Families First Coronavirus Tax Act, those went into play April 1st. Now, between April 1st and when you get your PPP money, you absolutely can take those credits. Once you hit PPP money, you can still technically take those credits. It even says in the law, it's just that whatever credits you get, even though it's an offset to an employer tax, but whatever tax credit you get on the sick leave or the expanded family medical leave, that will reduce down your payroll cost by that amount. That makes sense, because if your payroll cost is 60 grand and you got $2,000 in tax credits, really overall, your payroll cost is only 58 grand. So only 58,000 then would be included in the determination of loan forgiveness. Really as an update on the stimulus checks, what I'd say is you've got till Thursday, today is Wednesday, 22nd. So by tomorrow, April 23rd, go to the IRS, go to irs.gov, right on the front page. It'll say, I'm just going to double check myself. It'll say, get my payment. So you click on that, get my payment. You're going to need your 18 or 19 tax returns, whatever you did last. Okay. And the only reason you're going on here is if you got an address change and or you have a change into your bank account, or the IRS doesn't have your bank account. That should also be noted that our understanding is just because you're making payments to the IRS using your bank account for like a direct debit, the IRS keeps those in different vaults. So I haven't yet seen anybody who's got a direct deposit was somebody that was making a loan or was making a tax payment using their account. So when they're doing direct deposit, it would be for those that have filed a tax return, put on it, if they want direct deposit, they provided their account and routing number. Those seem to be the ones that got the first lick. 80 million of them went out last week. So I've had a few clients concerned. They're like, hey, I didn't get my money. Where do we at on that? But they're just going to be mailed to you. And I guess if you get on, according to the Treasury Secretary, by Thursday, in a day here, that you can go to that, log in, provide your account info. Now, I will say this, 100 out of 100 people that have gone on there, and then what I've been reading is that when you go to get my payment, it can go you through a process to help you determine what is it that you're getting, but it just has told everybody that your eligibility is unknown. So, excuse me, 2:57 a.m. My apologies. So that'd be the big thing to get done. I was talking on a radio TV station in San Francisco Monday night. And then last night, I was also on the radio station that broadcasts out of Las Vegas and then into other spots and anywhere you can get it because it's streamed. Long story short, those were the two hot topics of discussion. Where's the stimulus payments? Because 80 million got paid out. I think there's double that still ready that needs to go out. I know that the press has reported on, someone passed away, so then the check was sent and they shouldn't have got it. The kids, I've got someone that they've got a 17-year-old, they got the 500. I thought it was going to be consistent. I don't think I've still seen anything on what children have to do to qualify. And I just mean that the parent claiming them. If your child's got their own job and filed their own taxes, whatever, then they're going to get the $1,200. But that's an adult, post-college, not being claimed, not living at home. I guess it wouldn't matter if they lived at home technically. So on the stimulus checks, what I'm just telling clients is like, you know what? Go online if you'd like to, get my payment, check your address information, check your account information, make updates that you needed. You get that done now. Like if you're seeing this video and you have any concern about, does the IRS have your account information? Then go to irs.gov, get my payment is where you want to go, and then work that out to get those dollars provided to you by giving the account number and routing number to your bank. Now, if you don't, or you miss the deadline or whatever, they said they're going to mail them, and it sounded like they would be mailing those starting next week, which would be the week of the 27th. So that's where we stand now. That's our update for 4/22. Stand by for more information to come as things rolls out. But at the end of the day, it does seem, based on this bill, that everything that's in the CARES Act is going to remain, other than a few clarifications, which is they're setting aside $60 billion for the smaller banks, so it clarifies and defines what are those banks, right, that qualify. And then the EIDL is getting ready to load up, so not sure if that's going to be back up to the 10,000 or if it will still then just be 1,000. I will tell you this. I read that there was 400 billion in requests, but there's only 10 billion last time. Now there's going to be another 10 billion for a total of 20 billion, but it's 10 billion coming to be replenished. So you're going to want to be ready to absolutely pounce on that, because everybody seems to be aware that SBA.gov, go through, you're looking for the COVID-19, be able to apply. If it still says it's the funds have lapsed, that means they don't have any of the money. So you're just going to keep checking back. All right, well, let's have a good rest of our week. Thanks for tuning in. I go live every day, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time to ask questions. Boom, right back here, be a weatherman. Okay, right back there's my book, JJ the CPA, here. And it's on Amazon.com. You just search for JJ the CPA. And, I've got a song on iTunes if you want to check it out. It's called Money Never Sleeps, JJ the CPA and Masterminds 2009. So you check it out, probably get a kick out of it. It's not me rapping. You might catch that, and I guess I gave it away. It is technically a rap song. I helped write it, but Mastermind 2009 put it together. He's the one that's doing the rap. My 17-year-old son said, "Dad, that's kind of legit." So, it's decent. His friends listen to him all the time. Amanda's kids listen to him. Amanda's son's girlfriend listens to JJ the CPA, Money Never Sleeps, like all the time. It's kind of catchy. Check it out. If you got Apple Music, you'll be able to hear it from second one. Listen to the first minute. It's only 2.5. It's 99 cents, so if you can buy it, that'd be awesome. And you've never met a CPA quite like me. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see y'all soon.